Awesome. We are live. Okay. Miss Wendy Silvers, Miss Reverend Wendy Silvers. That's like a mouthful.
It
Oh my
is.
goodness. Okay. I should have probably practiced that, right? Welcome to this conversation today. I love you so much. I appreciate your vast knowledge. And we've known each other, what, for only 4 months,
Yeah,
5 months?
yeah,
5 months, and it
yeah.
feels like a lifetime. Feels like a lifetime, and I'm so blessed to be in your circle. We're coming today talking about. I think we'll have a good conversation about a lot of things. We just kind of riffed a little bit, and the conversation is really about women, mothers, intuition. We kind of get into that second guessing when we've had some trauma and really the generational cycles that domestic violence may accrue, right? That conversation is what we've had so far in this part of our work so far, is just talking about how words play a huge role into what we believe and what steps we move forward into. And so I would just like us to just have a conversation openly, just a conversation about where you've seen this, what your experience would be, how does this land for you in helping the women that you serve. And you can absolutely start, Miss Wendy, by telling us a little bit about yourself,
Sure.
because I want everybody to know who you are as well in this experience. So just start with who you are, a little bit about you, and then let's just dive into this conversation.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. I love you, Shannon, and I love what you're doing. And I'm so honored to be here with you and the women in your community. And thank you for being such a stand for ending generational trauma. I hold you high and am just so inspired by you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you
And
very much.
yeah, absolutely. And jokingly, I call myself Reverend Mama Wendy because when I first, so I'm a mom, besides anything else, like whatever I've done, whatever certifications and designations, I'm a mom. Like that to me is one of the highest and the holiest walks that I could have. So I'm very grateful to be a mom. And also, this work claimed me. I didn't really wake up and go, oh, I want, my work is at the intersection of motherhood, feminine spirituality, and social change. It was just like, bam. And I truly believe that whatever you call this presence, if you call it a tree or God or goddess or infinite spirit, that there is a calling that's placed on your heart, and that whatever happens in your life leads you to the place where you are open and ready to express the gifts on your heart. I came to this path so very, very briefly. I grew up in a house where there was trauma, a lot of it, and it really impacted me. And I began my growth work really when I was 20, probably 21-ish. And I've been on a path of growth and transformation since then. I also am so aware of the fact that the environment of the mother, when a mom is pregnant, impacts the social and emotional and physical and mental well-being of the baby. And
Absolutely.
so there's things that, coping mechanisms, quote unquote, I call them strategies. Everybody's got a different word for them, that we adapt to thrive and get through situations. And when one gets into a domestic violence situation, which is emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical, it erodes self-esteem. So what I can say is, when I was younger, I had a lot of emotional, some physical in my house, and it led me to make certain decisions about life and to mistrust this very strong inner wisdom that I had, this intuition. I went to college. I majored in nightlife. I ended up getting a job in the entertainment industry, which I was in for 14 years. And I did PR in the entertainment industry. And then my soul was like, I can't do this anymore. There's something else calling me. And I, through trial and error, falling down, picking myself up, I ended up meeting my husband, moving to Los Angeles, and getting back. I became a hypnotherapist when I lived in New York. That's where I'm from. And then I got into more of the healing arts as a spiritual therapist, and I am now a minister. But my work remains at the intersection of the archetype of motherhood, feminine spirituality, and social change. So that is how I came to sit here in front of you.
That is beautiful. And I don't think I knew, granted, I said it feels like we've been together in our circle for like ever and only 4 months. I didn't realize you worked in that field for 14 years.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That is amazing. And I too, oh my gosh, I resonate so much with that. Like when I too had trauma, emotional and physical trauma growing up, and I did suppress so much intuitive things, and I thought it was just weird and different, and I just shoved it all away. 1 foot in, 1 foot out all the time, I think, until the last 4 to 6 years, right? Like I just feel like I've just really been on this transformational journey to get us to where we are, openly helping and serving what God or universe or whoever is calling us forth to do so. I absolutely totally believe we grow through everything we go through. And there is wisdom and education in every single step and decision making that we create, right? Doesn't matter. It's like, I think we get stuck in, which is this inner wisdom that I think we're going to talk about a little bit more, but just we're coming into it. I feel like we lose that inner wisdom because we second guess absolutely everything because we're so worried about making a mistake or so worried about it's just really about making a mistake. We just don't know the right angle or right direction, the right path,
Right.
because nothing has been really, the boundaries have been crossed. The path hasn't been like continuous or constant. And so that pathway of moving forward has just been like this, right? Does that resonate? Anyway, so I love that. I resonate with so much of that. And I appreciate you coming to the table here to have this conversation. And if you could elaborate a little bit more on what that is, like I think we lose, again, fight or flight happens. And I think when women and ladies that you're watching this, this recording, you might be still in the thick of it. Let's just be honest. I really don't know exactly where you are or your journey specifically right now where you are. You might be in the thick of it still. You might have just got out of a domestic violence or a traumatic situation. You might be dealing with gaslighting or emotional trauma at your workplace or a different family relationship, or wherever you are is your journey. And so I'm not assuming anything. We're not here assuming. I just really wanted to bring this conversation together because it makes sense, right? And sometimes we just need to make sense of some things to move past them and to understand. So if you could just bring forth this conversation about that inner wisdom and what it speaks to you, Wendy, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I also forgot to add that in terms of my training, that I'm a trauma-informed parenting educator. So I studied with Thomas Hubel and The Body Knows the Score, Vanderkolk. So,
love it. Yeah.
So, there was never really a description of the strategies and the responses that people had to life situations that occurred. We've evolved a great deal to be able to identify when somebody sits in front of us and we can tell that trauma is leading the show, or even for ourselves. So what is inner wisdom? We are each spiritual beings having a human life experience. So that means that we are encoded, like it is our natural state is intuitive. Some people have greater access to it. Some people have it right away. Sometimes the way that inner wisdom can work for people is they go to the negative first. Oh, I knew that bad thing was going to happen. I just could tell, I could feel it. But if you think about when you were a child, or if you have children in front of you, they're very kinesthetic, like they're feeling, they just sense. So there's different, what's called clairs. There's clairaudient, which is hearing. So that some people have a really keen sense of hearing the inaudible, like they hear wisdom, they hear certain things. It leads them to see something, which is clairvoyant, is clear seeing. Clairsentience is clear knowing. I had a lot of clairsentience when I was little, and then the clairaudient. And claircognizance is clear knowing. That's also, where you just know something. Like I remember when I was a little kid, and I would say to my mom, who was so not alternative, and I would just say, like, I know this, Mom. And she'd be like, how do you know that? I'm like, I just do. And I was 8 years old. So we have these implanted capacities, and depending on where we grew up, like people that grow up with a lot of nature, that are close to the earth, there is a more of a reliance on these inner skills. But people that grow up with a lot of chaos, the nervous system gets wired, right? We hear a lot in trauma, healing trauma, about regulation. Well, the regulation is dialing down the discordant, that energy that you feel when something triggers you, your brain gets flooded. So that inner wisdom is that it's very still, it's very consistent. It doesn't tell you negative things. Is it okay if I get salty on here? Because I don't know if I'm okay. So I didn't create this phrase, but it's something that I've adopted called the itty bitty shitty committee, right? So the itty bitty shitty committee will talk to you in your own voice. So you think it's true, but it's not. And that is not your inner wisdom. Your inner wisdom is that sense of, and you can see how I'm like physically articulating, like that inner wisdom elevates you. That inner wisdom says to you, get out of the car now. That inner wisdom says, go down that street. That inner wisdom says, step away from that, right? And it doesn't say to you, you're a terrible person and you deserve that. That's trauma. And the ways in which we get to cultivate this inner wisdom is by being in nature. I teach meditation. I meditate. I love it, and sometimes it is just all I can do when my mind is really busy to like get myself into my meditation chair, right? So everybody finds the Sufis danced, it's getting into that zone where time and space collapse. And it allows that intuitive faculty that's within you to get stronger and stronger and stronger, so that when somebody stands in front of you and tries to tell you something that isn't true, you have the wherewithal to not engage, so that it doesn't foster more intense experience. But you have that voice that says to you, get your bag and get out, get the kids and get out. Because when somebody is in an abusive situation, it's not logical. So if you are somebody that is still in a situation that is not serving you, and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to get out, I want to be that voice in your ear that tells you that is your itty bitty shitty committee, and it is a lie trying to be true. You have the ability to say, I hear you, and I'm leaving. And if you haven't yet, let go of the judgment. That judgment is not your inner wisdom. Your inner wisdom says, I love you, my child, and you're going to be okay.
I love this. I have the goosebumps. I love this. Like, I'm like going back and I'm thinking about it. And it is, I think that when we're faced with like situations that happen, and it always seems to be an event, right?
Right.
An event for brain is just like this, there's always this, your brain and your heart fight.
Right.
And I feel like there's a disconnect in your brain and your heart. Your heart is like, why is this happening to me? What did I do to create this? Why me, universe, God, whoever? Like, why is this, all these things, bad things happen to me? Why am I born to do this, be in this? And your brain is the itty shitty, what'd you call it?
The itty bitty shitty committee.
I have to get that straight. And it is, your brain just tells you all these negative things, and it makes you sit in that position. And it's not just, it's going to come up.
Right.
It's going to come up a lot. It's going to come up a lot throughout your lifetime in different experiences. It's not just this, it's not because we have gone through emotional trauma or physical trauma or spiritual trauma, things that happen to us or occur in our lifetime, our brain like remembers that, and it goes all the way back there to those words again and again, right? And it's like we're back in this hole, this quicksand, I say, and then that panicky. It happened to my child today. She called me an absolute panic. It was a little thing that happened, and she didn't know how to deal with it. It was new and it was scary, and she was panicking. And I was like, we get to breathe and we get to move forward. How will we change what we're doing right now? Like, it was, but instantly, right? We go to, I'm not good enough. This was so stupid. I am not good enough. I'm missing time of work. I don't have enough money to pay my bills. Like, all these things were going through her head in one event, one very small event. And it was a misunderstanding, and we get to fix it, and it's going to be okay. It was not life and death, but at that moment, right? I remember that, like, everything goes to that, like, panic, can't breathe, attack, mind shutting down, everything is horrible. And we get to be, that's where I call it reframing, or you're like, bring your inner wisdom, bring in the meditation. We get to calm the cortisol. Like, the brain needs to, always going to get in our way. Our brain is always, its job is self-protection. Our brain's job is like, don't touch the fire, it's hot, right? It's your safety mechanism. We get to bring the heart in, which I love how you're saying that, to absolutely enable that posture to change, and our body to what I call wusa. Our body should just like, right?
And what you're speaking to also, there's a couple of things that jump out at me. You're speaking to, I grew up where there were records, right? But there's CDs, but you think about the groove, right? There's things that happen that get grooved in our nervous system. So there's a response that happens, that old fight, flight, freeze, or appease. And I know there's there's a new one that's been added, a fifth one, I believe.
I just saw that one day, yeah.
Yeah, but so more than anything, non-judgment, bringing non-judgment, and knowing that you are not the things that somebody tries to tell you you are. That, there's several spiritual principles that I think about, and that is, everything is happening for you, not against you. And that you have dominion. You, as a four-legged spiritual being having a human life experience, have dominion. You can think outside of a circumstance. When your brain gets flooded, the reason everybody says breathe is so that you can access a higher thought. Rather, you can have a response rather than a reaction, because the reaction is based on that physiological, fight, flight, freeze kind. And so what you're speaking to, and how wonderful that your kids have you as a mom to walk through. I mean, how brave and courageous you are to have left a situation that was harming you and harming the kids. And you had that courage. So if there's anyone here that's listening that ever, in those moments when you tap into that, that itty bitty shitty committee, that despair that tries to tell you you're less than wonderful, you are wonderful. What you did was so courageous. And one of the things, the why question, I used to, that let me know why. It's like the why won't help me. But what I learned to do was I move inside. And this is, I'm not saying like in the moment when you're feeling like you got to get out of a situation, and you do need to remove yourself in a situation. But in your quiet time, it's what do I need to transform within myself to have a different experience? That starts up a very healthy investment in your spiritual and emotional bank book, because the why will never satisfy, ever. It keeps you in what we learned, that psychological assessment, which for me leads me to analysis paralysis. I could analyze till the cows come home, and then there's no move, no healing.
There's no hope for reframing. There's no help for moving in the perfect direction, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love this, and it's so true. And we get to, and I say the reframe a lot, but also what comes into this whole entire conversation, and what we have talked about throughout this first foundational step, is the words that we say and the words that we hear absolutely matter. And it seems so minute, and it seems so simple, and it seems so juvenile, almost like, what does this even matter?
Right.
It freaking matters. If you look at yourself and you say everything is negative, and you don't like your body, and you don't like this, and you have, whatever, you compare yourself to your neighbor, or anything like that happens, and that's all you think of as the negative things around you, it's what you're going to bring to you as well. And so I actually just had another daughter had this conversation, and she's like, you in the universe is what she says. And I was like, do not put that in the universe. Like, we get to talk positively, we get to talk boldly, we get to talk, it doesn't even matter if it's not true yet, right? It doesn't matter if you don't believe it yet. We get to tap into that inner wisdom. We get to feel and believe and get into our feminine again. I feel like we get into masculine, and we do need both. We need, I think we need more masculine to be like, I'm freaking done, right? The drawing the line in the sand is more like a masculine thing. I feel like we tap into that strength, that masculine strength, perhaps more. But we get to have a balance of that feminine side of us, and I feel like we do lose that, and I feel like we get to learn how to balance it again. But if you can change the words, do you think, Miss Wendy, if you change the words, and I know that we have caught each other in saying negative things, right? If you catch yourself, or if you say positive things, like, how do you think it changes your life? Or have you seen different things happen around you or the people you serve? Because this is like the core foundational piece of this is changing the words we say and what we listen to. Even to the aspect, like yesterday, I spent a lot of time helping and assisting my sister, right? And she was watching this show, like, what is it called when you just watch for episode after episode? Like
binge watch.
Yes, she was binge watching this. And it was trauma, event. And I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like I can't listen. My whole everything about my aura was just getting tense. And I don't know if you feel this, but I'm such an empath. Like I was like, I can't handle any more cortisol. Like everybody's a mess all the time, every episode, and I can't do it. And she just looked at me like I was crazy, which is fine. Like she can look at me, whatever, but I really wholeheartedly, to my core of my heart of hearts, feel, and it resonates with me about the words we say,
Mhm,
the words we put in front of us,
mhm.
what we write down, whatever needs to be positive. So if you can, what do you think about that?
Well, I love that because to me, what it speaks to is frequency. So we live in an energetic universe. Like for
Mhm.
instance, those for people that may not be used to this, my kind of language, right? If you rub your hands together, you can feel the heat, right? And then you pull your hands apart and you can feel the energy. Like you remember when, if you went to
Mhm.
school and they did this, it was in science
I've done
class or
this
something,
in a
right?
workshop.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
words have energy, they have frequency. That's why, and also that's why when you walk into the room, like when you're really little and you walk into a room and you can feel there's tension in the air, and you ask somebody what's going on and they say nothing, everything's fine. There's a disconnect because your little body is like, oh, no, there's like stuff going on here. Or when you
Mhm.
walk into a room and there's this incredible love, like this feeling of love, and that's also vibrational. So words carry vibration. And and TV, so it's not called TV programming for nothing. It's
Mhm.
programming. So I have certainly binge watched my share of shows, but I'm
Mhm.
very cognizant and conscious of the fact that I'm doing this. Like I'm
Mhm.
now, I'm now going down this rabbit hole
Mhm.
because I can feel it, that I will feel depressed if
Mhm.
I'm being exposed to either somebody's very angry communications or anger or my
Mhm.
own.
Mhm.
It's an energy. So, I think you and I joked about how abracadabra means I create as I speak. So it is an invitation to be really mindful of what I'm feeding myself, the words I'm feeding myself, the shows that I'm feeding myself, the food, the literal food that I'm feeding myself, the people
It
that I
makes a
hang
difference.
out with, right? If I hang out with a lot of really negative people, I'm going to start feeling really crappy. And
Mhm.
this used to happen before I really understood it. Like I said, I'm from New York, and I'd wake up in the morning and I would get ready for work, and then I'd get on the subway where you're, packed in with a lot of people, and I'd be walking down the street going to my office, and I'd get there and I'd be like, I would just feel
Mhm.
so down. Because as an empath, like you spoke about, I just was picking up.
Absorbing everybody's
Right.
frequency.
So when we're around people that speak really negatively, it builds up a vibration. And if I agree with it through the words
Mhm.
I'm speaking, then I'm
Mhm.
creating that thing. So it's about being mindful. If anybody is listening, that's listening goes, oh my God, I've got to be hyper vigilant. No,
Mhm.
conscious,
Punch
mindful,
it.
aware, what would you, what, as we learn, what are you interested in creating? And it doesn't mean when you're moving through, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's starting a new business, whether it's starting a new relationship, whether it's just, parenting, there are moments when as a human, we're going to just pick up energy. We're going to feel sad, or maybe we're going to feel regret. So we go to somebody like Shannon, and we go and
Mhm.
we say, can you help me? Can you hold me? Like, not necessarily physically, but, you know, I'm not feeling good. Like yeah, I called
Yeah.
Shannon a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, okay, I'm in the drift, like
Mhm.
to have that circle. That's why this particular container that you've created is so fabulous, because you want to be around people that are holding you high, not people that are co-signing your misery. That's not what it's about. So the words we speak create a vibrational frequency, a set point, and where you place your attention, energy flows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And thank you for reiterating that, because that is, oh my gosh, absolutely. So many people say like you are, if you're around, if you're, we always tell our kids, you turn into the humans, or people expect the people that you're around, you're just like them. And you show up just like the humans you're around. And so if you're with powerful, strong, confident women, making change, doing things, you're going to be a powerful, strong, capable woman who is like not held back for anything. If you're around negativity all the time, everything that you do, like you're consciously, subconsciously, like lowering your demeanor, your purpose, your composure, your way of showing up as a mom, all of that will diminish if you are unconsciously absorbing any of that negativity, right? I'm not saying you're consciously doing it, but I do know that just like you, Miss Wendy, I had to change the position that I was doing, that I was working in for so long, because it was absolutely sabotaging my energy. I could not be a good mom. I couldn't be a good single mom and do these things, even though it was so scary.
Yeah.
At that point, to end a job that I had, that I knew I'd get 40 hours a week, and I was like salary, and it was like this, but I was like, I can't do this. I cannot do these hours. I can't do this. It was just so much. And I was a crisis responder for this counseling agency. And it was just a lot of, helping, and it was all chaos, right?
Yeah.
Which I was living chaos.
Right.
And then I was serving chaos, and there was just no separation there. So I understand that totally. So if you guys are resonating with, okay, like I do feel people, if I think it has to do, I think it also comes about that way too. And then just that knowledge that I think we fault ourselves. We say it's all my fault. I did this. I put my kids through this. This is all my fault. And I just want to bring to the conversation today again, and Wendy and I had talked about this earlier, is that again, we learn from everything, but you guys, this is generational trauma. It did not just start here with you. I would bet that there was a lot of trauma in your life earlier. I bet there was trauma in your families or your parents and your grandparents' life ahead of you, in different aspects, maybe. But as generational trauma goes through the generations, it gets harder, because we're all carrying those different bags for our ancestors. Okay. And this is where we talk about GEM, and Wendy and I have talked about generational emotional mapping too, but so many things that we're carrying was already written in our subconscious. There is so many other emotional traumas that are already in our DNA, and we get to unpack other people's baggages, including our own, at the same time. And so, again, I just want to give yourself grace, and every day we do the best we can, and the next day we try again. Yes. Right? It just, every day we do the best we can, the next day we try again. And perfection will never occur, right? Perfection is an illusion. I was just talking to a dear friend, a business person. She's in nutrition and owns a gym here. And we were talking about Instagram being like, everybody has the best filters, and all they show is the best filters and the best things they're doing. All that, you're not getting the true story, right? No one has a perfect life. Nothing is perfect ever. And so the only person, like I told my daughter in my post, the only person you get to compare yourself to is who you looked in the mirror yesterday, right? We are all on this journey together. Our journeys are the life journey resonates. We've probably all seen, been through, or are in some sort of emotional trauma, physical trauma, family trauma, anything like that is affecting us negatively. We're in it. and we're in this together. We're in a community that is safe. We're going to change the words. We're going to learn more. And I just love this conversation, Miss Wendy. I appreciate all of it. Miss Wendy, would you like to do a little, just a short, I just want to bring this to the table. I love this. Would you like to do a short visualization for us or with us?
Sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I love everything that you're saying, because that, that built in, one of the things that I often say to my clients and my friends is that when we heal ourselves, we heal 7 generations behind and 7 generations ahead. So if you're extricating yourself from a situation or a pattern right now, and you're thinking, oh, what am I going to do? By doing that inner work, by breaking the cycle, huge.
Absolutely. I don't want what I came out to do and recreate myself and do self-development, like really personal development, was because I wanted to make a difference for my kids.
Yeah.
Right. I did not want them to repeat the same things that I did. I was in this, I lived it. I lived different traumas growing up, and I lived in 2 different negative relationships. One was worse and just different than the other. All of it was extremely abusive, right? And I think as moms, when we're pregnant, we just want better for our kids.
Mhm.
And we will fight to the bitter end to give our kids better or something different than we had, right? And do I wish that my kids' life would have been different? Absolutely. But again, we grow through what we go through, right? They are strong women, and they too will make their own mark on this world, right? As they grow into themselves. But my mission is, it was to first and foremost to teach my kids that there is a different way. To teach my kids that this negative relationship was not a positive relationship, that this was not a good marriage, that this was not a positive relationship, and that people, I always say that words matter, right? And but what I taught them when they were first grade and kindergarten, when I left the first relationship or my marriage, was you should be able to feel love without it even being said. There's no words needed for that.
Yeah.
And love is consistent. It is not, love doesn't come conditionally for, if I get this or give you this, then this is love, or I get loved if you get this, right? It is not like that. That is not love.
Right.
And so that was the first, and I've just repeated that different ways throughout their lifetime. Like, you get to feel love. It doesn't even have to be spoken.
Right.
If
You
it's
don't have
spoken,
to do anything to be loved.
You don't have to do anything to receive love.
Yeah. It's so
It is just,
yeah. It's so interesting when I hear you talk about this, because I think about some young girls, how if they've grown up. So I want to back up a little bit and say, I'm of the belief that we pick our parents. Like, we have a sacred agreement with our children. So there are situations where there's so much victimization, and it's terrible, and it's so heartbreaking open to be like, oh my God. And on an unseen side, I'm of the mind that we choose. So that allows each and all of us to have a freedom to evolve beyond the circumstances. And then I also think of young girls who've grown up in abusive situations and pick abusive men because they want to feel loved, or pick up a drug or a drink and then pick up a man or a woman, to soothe that gaping, hole that wants to be filled. And that when we do our inner work, when we do the healing of the trauma, and we don't trauma bond with other people so that we're all in the misery boat, right? We're profoundly inspirational. I mean, when you meet, someone like you, like, there's an inspiration. I'm sure the women that are here in this container also, the things that you have overcome and the things that you are overcoming and things you're healing and embracing and moving beyond. It's so much courage. So do not believe any lies that somebody outside of you tells you. And I can also say with every fiber of my being that there is no one outside of you that can give you your wholeness. That is inside, and it comes from your relationship with yourself and your higher power, whatever you call it. The world cannot give that to you.
Nope. That is the hardest thing. I think that is not the hardest, let me say, the most challenging thing. It's all about words, right? And it is that it cannot, for you to be able to heal, for me to be able to heal all of the things that I got to heal, I had to absolutely, without a doubt, love the person I saw in the mirror. I had to heal me for me, right? And it could not come from somebody else for me to be okay with every single decision I was making, right? For me, to me, like I got to just start with being okay with being me, that I wasn't these negative things that were told to me for so many years. Like I got to be okay with who I was.
Right.
And then I got to grow that relationship with myself. Right.
Yes.
And it has never been an uphill like this, you guys. We're going to just be honest here, right? It is a flow, but the situation at hand that gets to happen is the flow continues to lift you up, right? It doesn't matter if you fall backwards. It does matter. I'm not saying that, but we will always dance with life, right? Situations will happen. You're going to dance. You're going to get hit. You're going to fall sideways. You might even fall down, but we get to choose into us again, and we get to keep rising. And it's never going to be a straight shot up that mountain. There's going to be boulders you're going to have to climb over, boulders you're going to have to go around, rocks you're going to have to trip over, but it's all part of this amazing journey that you have the opportunity to be on, right? The courage, the strength, and the endurance is the marathon of your life, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's why we're going to figure out what our why is. I think that to your core gets to really leap us forward. But it kind of brings me to another conversation that you and I had, Miss Wendy. And I
love how you call me Miss Wendy. It cracks me up.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Wendy. So before I was okay with myself, we're just going to be honest, and we're just going to talk about the elephant in the room here. Like I found other things to self-soothe. We were just talking about that, right? And sometimes it's easier, sometimes it was in my brain. It was easier to numb everything and just disappear. Right. And so that was a challenge, another challenge that I had that I got to overcome for myself. Again, I really feel like it comes from that self-love as well. So, would you like to talk about that a little bit? Because you kind of brought it up to the table, but just that self-soothing, that we can find other humans that are not positive for us, or we can find other substances that are not positive for us because our brain is telling us all this negative stuff, and we're not quite on the path of we're okay with ourselves yet, right? Or we don't love ourselves yet. So it's just easier to numb, to hide,
anesthetize, to a baby is born with 25% of its of the brain developed, and then the parents are the architects of the brain, right? And so there's all these neurons, and so a baby's brain gets wired in a particular way. So if you've been in a home where there's an enormous amount of trauma, there's some neurons that atrophy, and there's some neural pathways that get formed that keep us vibrating at a certain level. And to feel regulated, let's say, that I would reach out for certain things to keep my system regulated in the way that felt natural. Wasn't natural, but that's how natural it was for me. So I know I chose substances. I think also people to tell me that I was okay, that I was lovable, that I was good enough, because that sense that who I was at the very core of my being wasn't okay was what I lived with. It was like the soundtrack of my life, of my life in the back of my head. You're not okay. You're okay. There's something wrong with you. So
it's like this soundtrack.
right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that correlation, because it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just, I started using speed. I started smoking pot. I hated pot because it just kept me analyzing. I didn't need to think anymore. And it made me eat a lot of food. And I was like, no, I can't do this. So, I discovered speed, and then I discovered cocaine, and it made me feel powerful. I teach in my parenting work that I believe every person and every child wants to feel powerful, loved, important, cherished. And so when I did cocaine, I felt empowered. I felt powerful, and so it doesn't last. Being in love is beautiful, but if I keep looking to that person to have me feel like I'm okay and I matter, I'm going to be just like that empty balloon. I'll be like, so for me, I didn't have to, but I made a choice, because there was this moment that I would always be aware of, that I felt really empowered and energized and activated when I was, let's say using, but when I stopped, then I was still faced with me. I was faced with me compounded with, coming down from, whatever I was using. And it couldn't and didn't serve me. Same way, if I was with somebody that I really cared about and then they were gone or something, it's like, well, I'm always left with me.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like in my situation, I drank heavily. I practiced a lot while I was married, to just numb and go to bed, like before he would go to bed and that kind of thing, or I would just, whatever. And, you are left with still you.
Yep.
Feeling like shit, you like the next day, and you're not your best you for anybody else, for your family, for your kids. And it didn't allow me to make decisions with clarity. It didn't allow me to, and I just got so frustrated, because I was so frustrated, right? And I was tired, and I just wasn't my best self. And that is a perfect way of saying it. Like, you wake up the next day and you're still with you, and you're like, I still have all this shit to deal with. My life hasn't changed just because I chose this today. Like, I'm still left with all of this. And so it was easier to choose things, or to decide things, or to move forward when I didn't have this hangover or whatever feeling, or I wasn't drunk or whatever. If I didn't have that feeling on top of what I was also trying to do, the attention to details, that is so true. Like, you're still left with you.
Right.
And
it compounds. I know for me, I had a victim story and an experience of being victimized. And then when I felt disempowered in those situations, it just fed it. It just fed that sense of victimization, that sense of hopelessness, that sense that, oh, it's never going to get better. This is just the way it is. And so it becomes
the story true almost. We're creating it to be, we're creating that gremlin, or those that
you like gremlins. Yeah. 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 We're the creator of our life story, and
Yeah.
what is the story going to be? Oh man, I'm a piece of shit and,
Mhm.
can't find love. I really make bad choices and, I need to get out of myself, because that's what happens. There becomes all these excuses to justify the self-fulfilling prophecy that is not true.
Correct.
So
I
you
love it.
are more powerful than anything that has happened to you, because you have the ability, of the capacity to connect with that inner wisdom, that God place, that spirit place, that is the truth of your being. And it doesn't mean every day is going to be unicorns and rainbows, like you said, like Shannon said. But when you build that muscle, there's that ability to circumvent, right? You dial down the bullshit and you dial up the inspiration. Like, okay, I'm having a bad moment. It's not my life.
In my life, it's a moment, right? We're going to get through this.
Yes.
Time under tension for both of it, right? You just get to get through it. I don't even know why. Probably because I had a conversation with my fitness coach. You can do anything for 40 seconds. And so like it comes to my mind, I'm like, this hurts, this sucks, it's not fun, I don't like this, right? But she used to like just pour into me, you can do anything for 40 seconds, right?
Right.
And then we'll do something different. Right. So we're not saying it's fun and it's not enjoyable or whatever, but it's going to get you to the next decision. It's going to get you to the next step of moving forward and building a better, bigger, stronger foundation underneath you, which is going to gain your confidence and your courage to transform your life and transform your.
Yes. And it also, what you're talking about is so true, because what happens is what you build is an awareness, right? So I often say, hey, if you're not going to do something, just acknowledge it consciously, right? And that's what happens. There's this conscious awareness of, I could do that, I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's that, right? And then there's that, oh, but this really feels terrible. So I think I'm going to choose that next time. And then it builds up, and it's just like that muscle builds up. And then it's like, okay, so here's what I could be doing. And I'm sitting here going to do this. It becomes this mismatch. And then that inner strength becomes, that muscle gets so strong or developed. That's like, okay, I could sit here in my little dirty diaper. I could sit here and do that, right? My poopy pants, I can do that. Yeah. Or I could pick myself up and go, I'm going over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to call Shannon or, whomever went, I'm going to go get up.
Like whatever it is, like life is a dance. Maybe, I lost a job. Okay. This doesn't feel great. This sucks. All these feelings, we get to feel the feelings, but we also don't have to sit in this. This is a moment. And so we get to pivot, reframe, lower the cortisol, bring in the inner wisdom so that our brain and heart are connected so we can actually figure out something. And we're going to go fill out an application. We're going to go online and do something to change this circumstance, right? But we get to, when those life things hit us, instead of what I learned, instead of numbing it and adding, I'm stressed out, I had a really bad day, I'm going to go to the refrigerator. Instead of doing this, I'm going to go out with whatever. And to numb it or to pile on top of it, because it doesn't numb it, it just makes things pile on top. We've kind of come to that conclusion today, right?
Yeah.
We get to pivot, lower the cortisol, bring in our inner wisdom, and we get to make a different choice.
Yes.
Right? I call reframe, but
yes,
it
is
absolutely
wisdom.
Inner wisdom, and different ways of doing that with self-care, right? We talk about self-care. We can have that conversation any day of the week. Self-care really, however you feel confident. I used to do wellness recovery action plans in my dual diagnosis workshops. Whatever makes you happy, that is positive, create a toolbox for that. Absolutely. If it's singing your favorite song, if it's getting grounded with earth, like I walked around in my backyard just a little bit ago in shorts and a t-shirt. It's not greatly warm, but the sun is shining. bare feet out there on the ground, right?
Yeah.
If it's being in nature, if it's going boating, if it's going for a walk, if it's working out, if it's listening to a podcast, whatever it is that will land you to finding that inner wisdom, to changing that feeling that you have of not good enough, to shut down the committee that's talking negative to you, do it.
Yeah.
And if you get and do it every single time you need to, like you guys, some days I get to do it. See, I get to do it 10 times.
Right.
Some days I get to do it 2 times because the day went smoothly for me, right? So not every day is going to be perfect, but we get to choose how we react. And it's hard, it's challenging, more challenging at first because our body's cortisol just is already hypervigilant, and we're already ready to react 2 seconds into any event, right? And so we get to bring in that inner wisdom. And I really like that. I love that way of putting it, is bring in the inner wisdom so that our brain shuts down and we can absolutely cognitively make a decision without reacting to what's going on.
Right. Right.
Fight,
Dial
flight,
it down, bring the, I taught, like, you flipped your lid, flip the lid, your amygdala is like, cortisol is going, and then you find ways to bring it down. And then you can access the higher reasoning aspect of your brain. So you can set an intention. I work a lot with intention. I'm sure you do too. It's like, so what's the intention here? Bring your attention to your intention, even if you have to do it 50 times. Like, it's not a race. It's not a competition. It's your life. You get to live it. You get to live in joy. Your birthright is joy.
To live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And that is my mission every day. Bring joy and love and freedom every single day.
Yes.
So I love that you said that, because that is beautiful. Oh my gosh, this has been so good. We could talk forever. We could talk forever, and I'm sure we'll see us both on here again in the future. But I want to come back to, do you want to do a short visit? I can't even say that word.
Is there time? Do we have time?
Time for whatever you want.
Okay.
If you have time.
Yeah, I can do a laser, and then we can close. That sounds great. Okay. So just taking a breath in through your nose, deep breath, have your feet on the floor. Or if you aren't able to do that, just extend your legs in front of you and have your back straight without being rigid. If you are driving, please do not do any of these suggestions. Just listen, and the vibration of what's being spoken will move into your heart, and that'll be good until you can do this. So put your hands on your lap. I like to keep my palms facing up toward the sky, and take a deep breath in through the center of the earth, as though you're breathing in from this beautiful Mama Gaia, just breathing in. Feeling that breath waft all the way up your legs and your torso and your neck into your head, and just hold on to that breath and sip in a little more air, and hold it without being rigid, without gripping your body. Just hold it. And very slowly exhale to the count of 8. And taking another breath in again, all the way from the center of the earth. Feeling this breath rise throughout your body, all the way up to the tippy top of your head. And you can sip in a little more air. Intentionally move your ears away from, your shoulders away from your ears, allowing your shoulders to relax. And slowly exhale to the count of 8. And one last breath in this way, breathing in. All the way up to the tippy top. Some call it the apex of the breath. Sustain it and sip in a little more air. holding it. And exhale to the count of 8. And now intentionally bring your awareness into your heart space. Imagine that there's a soft pillow in your heart, and you're just going to rest, allowing your mind to just stop thinking itself, just resting in your heart on the soft pillow, allowing your belly to soften, allowing your heart to open and soften, allowing your breath to just rise and fall, being aware of any sensations in your body without making up what it means, allowing any noises around you to bring you into a deeper place of relaxation. You're just resting in your heart. And in front of you, I invite you to see a staircase. And this staircase is going to take you to a beautiful place in nature that is yours. It is your sacred space. This staircase is made up of whatever elements you would like it to be created from: crystal, wood, whatever. And at the end of the staircase, there's 5 steps, and at the end is a door. And that too has a doorknob, and it can be created of whatever elements you would like it to be created. And so just walking down these steps, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You walk up to the doorknob, you turn the doorknob, it opens out, and you walk into this gorgeous, pristine space in nature. No one can enter this space but you. And in this sacred space, you can hear the sounds of nature. It could be the waves crashing or birds' wings flapping, branches of twigs snapping as you're walking in this beautiful sacred space. And as you are walking, you look up in the sky. It's blue, it's clear. The weather is just perfect. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. The colors are vibrant and beautiful. And you hear like a babbling brook running by you, and you walk over, and there's a spot on the earth that has your name on it. And you sit on this spot, and then you decide to lay down. And you can feel the earth gently yet firmly cradling your head and supporting your spine and your legs. Just feel what it feels like to be relaxed and supported at the same time. And you look up into the sky, and you see a beautiful beam of golden sunlight that is meant just for you. And it enters your body through the top of your head and begins to just slowly move down your body in warm, gentle, rippling waves, bringing into your body all that you wish: gentleness, courage, clarity, peace of mind, beauty, while it's carrying out of your body, out through your fingertips and toes, any energies you wish to release. Fear, doubt, worry. Just feel what it feels like to be in this beautiful, sacred space. And now you sit up, and as you look in front of you, there is a pathway, and you see that somebody is walking toward you on this pathway. And they're very familiar. And you keep looking, and you have a feeling of joy as you see them. And as they get closer, you see that it's your inner child, and they're coming toward you down this pathway. They walk over to you, and they sit down, and they look at you. And you can feel a love in your heart, an opening in your heart. And as you look at them, you feel love pouring forth toward your inner child. And you hold your hands out, and they put their hands on top of your hands. And then they want to sit on your lap, and you let them. And you just sit with them for a few moments, feeling what it feels like to be completely held, supported, loved, loving in this sacred space. And now you stand up. It's time to come back into this room, and your inner child is with you. You're holding them in your arms. They're resting their head on your shoulder. They would like to come with you. You get to decide if you want them to come with you. And if you do, you can feel them just moving into your heart space. And you can feel in your body a sense of wholeness, a sense of joy, a sense of lightness of being. And you're walking back along the pathway to the place on the earth where you sat. You're walking back to the door. You're at the door. You walk through the archway, opening the door. It opens out. You see the 5 steps. And these 5 steps will bring you back into the room that you are in. You will feel rested and refreshed and renewed and connected with your inner child. So you put your foot on the first step, and you start to feel yourself coming back into this room that you are in. And you put your foot on the second step, and you take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Third step, you feel this burst of light coming from your divine source, just entering your body and filling the inside of your body straight through into the center of the earth. 4, taking another very deep breath in through your nose. Feeling yourself coming back more into your body. 5, feeling yourself fully back, fully returned. You can tap your shoulders, tap your arms, tap your thighs, front and side, rub your hands together. Taking a deep breath in through your nose. Holding it, slowly exhaling. And ever so gently opening your eyes and returning back into the room and looking around the room and feeling yourself back in the room, feeling yourself in your body. You can tap your feet on the ground, shoulders, and you're back.
That was amazing.
Good.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful and amazing.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Hey, that was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. I think I will keep this part too, in addition to, like, we'll keep it together, but I think we'll probably put it in the meditations too. So
Awesome.
what a blessing. That was amazing.
Yay. Yay.
Yeah.
It's such a,
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Wendy, for this conversation. It has been a delight. It has warmed my soul today. And I just feel like we just gifted and gave and surrendered and encouraged and brought forth and authentic conversation today. And that is how we grow, is being authentic and vulnerable. And every single day I learn something new about myself, and every single day I learn a different way of showing up and a different way of being. And I'm so blessed to have you in my circle to again hold me high.
You got it. Ditto.
Keep the committee down and keep moving forward.
Yes.
Itty
Thank you.
bitty. I'm gonna make a card for the itty bitty shitty committee.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing. We're gonna stop the recording for now, but many blessings for you for an absolutely transformational week, and to all you serve as well.
Thank you to all of
thank you so
you,
much.
to you and all of your community. Thank you.
Absolutely.